great myth, great light. There is, common among all mankind today, a great myth and a great light, which only one member of our grammar matrix can certainly prove. There is nothing irrational in the universe. Everyone who has studied the elements of Euclid knows that the author or authors of certain portions of it did work on irrational numbers, and as such, those who study those propositions, or even parrot them, come to believe that there are irrational things. What this belief is a contradiction of what they fundamentally know, that there are two, and only two, types of identity, arithmetic and geometric. There is no such thing as an irrational identity. Some scholars know that if something is not commensurate arithmetically, it is therefore commensurate geometrically, which means that irrationality is a product not of things, but of the arithmetic naming convention. To claim that things are irrational, one has to forget, or not recall, that given any two things, one can find their square root. That square root is always rational in geometry, but not in arithmetic. This is the difference between arithmetic information processing and geometric information processing. Therefore, I will demonstrate that which I know, but may have wrote down in an essay which later became lost or never written. You already know, given any two lines, you can find a common measure, that is, the unit which measures both, using the square root, and I can show how, given any three segments, find their geometric root. Using both of these, one can see, irrationality is simply derived from the standard of measure, one being arithmetic, the other geometric, and one produces irrational results, but that is solely the product of the naming convention itself, not things in of themselves. Thus, irrationality means one of two things: either it does not comply with the arithmetic naming convention, or it does not comply with any naming convention, and, as we know that everything is the product of binary recursion, it means that someone has interchanged a noun with a verb, that is, the source of a set of words was produced by someone illiterate, or by someone who made a mental typo. In all events, one will find that there is nothing irrational in the universe, that is, chaos theory is the product of an illiterate. In short, nothing in the universe can escape being named using our grammar matrix. Not being given a name does not mean not nameable. So, some of these plates may be something I may have forgotten to write down, but it is not something I have forgotten. Let us clarify what not nameable means. We already know, or should know, that grammar systems are methods of information management, which means relative differences are a given. That is, the verb is a given, and we find the standards by which that verb is parsed. That is, in geometry, the line is a given, and we learn the standards by which to assert a limit, or boundary. That is, the parsing boundary, the first principle being the point. Grammar is the method by which we preserve and find order, which is implied in the very definition of a thing. A thing is a relative constrained by correlatives, or one can say a thing is a standard of measure. That standard can be either arithmetic, geometric, or both. It cannot be, however, neither, or irrational. Thus, it should be realized, we can say that a number is irrational, for it cannot comply with a chosen standard of measure, but one cannot ever say that a proportion is irrational, for if we do, we are simply saying that a noun is a verb, which is really a bologna sandwich without meat. The reciprocal figure is not in Euclid, nor is the exponential figure in Euclid. However, not being in Euclid does not mean it is not a part of formal geometry. Had either of those two figures, which I pulled out of my own tush, being in Euclid, geometry would certainly be more advanced today than anything else I have done in it. The last plate, or demonstration here, is of historical importance to me. It is something I have known for a long time. However, it also has something to do with what I was asked to do, a long time ago, by something not human. I was told, express CM. At the time, I was working at General Motors. The demand puzzled me. I did not know what it meant. My first response was, I do not know a thing about the common market. Another response, after checking a dictionary, a red book in the foreman's desk, I do not know a thing about the congregation of the mission. I later came to understand it as the common measure for intelligence, binary information processing, which led me to understand how to do many things in information processing, called impossible. I solved for the name of the beast, I solved the Boolean problem. I was essentially told to do something I would not understand for decades. Our grammar matrix is perfect, and applies to every possible thing. There is no rational person who divides grammar against itself.
False words are not only evil in themselves, but they infect the mind with evil. Phaedo by Plato,